Hi everyone, I'm Chi. I'm the host of this event. So thank you all for being here. It's called All Views Are the Artist's Own. And I'd just like to say thank you to anyone who's watching this now or in the future if they're watching the YouTube video. Thank you for all your support for Wonderzoo over the past year or so during the COVID restrictions, and thank you for attending all of our online events. If anyone doesn't know that much about what we do at Wonderzoo, so we recently applied for some funding from Plymouth Octopus Project to fund a 10-month research project to look into creating a future literary festival in Plymouth. So that post, we put a sort of call out for a researcher, and the person who got the position was Caitlin Rose Braun. So big congratulations to Caitlin, and she's going to be working alongside Wonderzoo to help us to research sort of how to create a future festival. And that's really exciting because that's going to be something that will happen in sort of after the project is completed. And if anyone is here currently who would like to help us with the research and be interviewed, or if anyone's got any knowledge they'd like to share with Caitlin when she does her research about maybe anything that you might know about how to create a festival, a literary festival, please do get in touch, and we'd love to talk to you and interview and get knowledge from you. So as well as our ongoing gigs, we've got actually a book group coming up on Saturday evening, and that's going to be every 2 months. We're going to be looking at Brave New World by Aldous Huxley this Saturday. We've also got a storytelling group called the Cosmic Storytelling Group, and that's going to be at 2 o'clock this Saturday afternoon. And that's for anyone to come along. It's just sort of like a drop-in thing where people can chat about how they're feeling or share any work, or just get to know people. It's kind of like a support group for people, anyone out there who just needs a little bit of online social time and to get to know other people and be able to be listened to and heard. We've got some great news as well. We received further years funding from the Arts Council England. So we've got funding to continue for another year, which is absolutely fantastic. Really excited about that. And another thing is that me and Slane are continuing the radio show every Friday, 7 till 10 on P-Town Radio. So that's something that we're going to be doing tomorrow. We're going to be having lots and lots of local artist music on, including Rob C, who's here with us now. So we're going to be playing some of his tracks. So yeah, lots going on. Anything else? Okay, so I think that's all the news, but I just wanted to say, for anyone out there watching this, this is it's a safe space, but it's also a brave space. So some of the things that you might hear could be triggering, but we are, we're very inclusive with the arts, and we don't just do safe art. Some of the stuff can be a little bit, edgy or might make you feel uncomfortable, but as long as there's no discrimination involved, we welcome all sorts of art, all sorts of expression. And yeah, just be warned that, there might be things said that could cause an emotional response. That's all I've got to say about that. And the first artist that we've got on the show this evening is the wonderful James Bridgwater. He is a Plymouth author of 3 books, including an autobiography called Confessions of an Emotional Shipwreck and 2 other novels. He's a very well-known local character who dresses in fantastic clothes that he makes himself, and a very stylish guy and a well-known local artist. Hi, James. Would you like to unmute yourself? Can I unmute you here?
Okay. How are you these days? I haven't seen you for it,
Yeah, how are you doing, James?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well, yeah. I don't mind this lockdown because it gives me plenty of time to stay at home and do lots of reading and writing, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I've got this huge reading project on at the moment because I don't know if you know, but Stephen King did a 7-book series called The Dark Tower, and I'm reading that. And I've just started book number 5.
Yeah.
And 2 to 8 volumes, each of them, yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's good. I'm going to hand the mic over to you. Oh, that's big. Yeah, The Dark Tower. Cool. I'm going to hand the mic over to you and mute myself. So over to you, James.
Okay, I'll read some poems, yeah.
Yeah.
None of these are ones that I've written that recently because I don't find that there's much inspiration in things at the moment, but they are sort of, well, and this one's called Modern Life. I'll see what you think of this one. Yeah? Modern Life. This living in the modern world, it really brings me down. Technology comes on so fast, they tear apart the town. Phones the size of credit cards, they're really not my thing. It takes a part-time evening course to even make it ring. And what about the internet to catch the interfish? And intercod and interchips will be my interdish. My neighbour drives a space wagon. It would carry all my flat. Plus me, my family, and my lovely one-eyed cat. She's Alice, and she helps me find a way through each long day. But even she's a consumer and wants things her own way. I only recently discovered meaning to Catkin's choice. Give her chunks in jelly and gravy, she'll exercise her voice. I think we would be happier if we lived a few years back. I'm not just talking decades, but when I would wear a sack. We'd have a lovely farm and live in peace beside the moor, sleeping on a pile of sheepskins spread round the granite floor. But no, I'm in a high-speed world where science is a god. And lacking my own website, my friends all think I'm odd. I'm always thought that text was just another word for book, not a freaky language from which alternate vowel it took. I'm worried by the World Wide Web. What a spider that must be. Should I be in techno or arachnophobe? It's just as bad for me. I can't spell either of those words, but my laptop PC can. The ghost in the machine, I think, should reboot Age of Man. We've got Valentine's Day coming up fairly soon. And I've got a poem I wrote about Valentine's Day years ago, so I'll read you that one now. Sitting in the park on an archetypal spring day, watching the daffodils give a soft, caressing sway, I would sit down, but there's the catch. Every couple has their favourite patch. Each pair marks the bench their own distinctive way. The octogenarians are always throwing bits of stale bread every morning on their bench to see the birds get fed. Constant routine, probably unchanged for years, does them good, or that's how it appears. Divided by a few feet and a lifetime school's age couple sit. Around their benches are fag ends and little pools of spit. He gets his penknife out to carve I love you in the seat. But she says do something useful, like go veggie, don't eat meat. A third park bench, a third couple sitting in the sun. Every empty beer cans frame the scene. So now they've shouted everyone. And still the flowers nod their heads for more. St. Valentine's Day, it's so romantic, watching couples since the days of yore. I'll just do you. Oh, yes, you wouldn't have heard this one, yeah. Yeah, because this talks about my early education when I went to a posh prep school up near Bath, yeah, in a little place called Bradford on Avon, yeah. And the poem is Parts and Places. I first came to Plymouth from Bradford on Avon, an ancient town, a peaceful rural haven. It sounds really posh with its school, the Old Ride. Glossy prospectus hides evil molesters inside. First a country house, then private school shut down in dirty scandal. Educators' lives contaminated, snuffed out like a candle. Decrepit decay to second-rate nursing home. Many lives ended. Away from the quality site, our downward way was wended. Moving to Lower Compton, the name implies we were going downhill. Dad was returning home to Plymouth. It was his first city thrill. About 4 years living at the end of Carlton Close, a cul-de-sac. The house at the end with the biggest garden, slow worms out the back. Eventually, we moved a few hundred meters up the slope. But down the scale regards more poverty, less hope. Effort, a curious place, which first I was very unsure about. I've often visited the cemetery for a fag, becoming a teenage lout. Okay, well, I think that'll do, because we've got quite a few people on the list and I've already taken over 10 minutes.
Oh,
So,
Wonderful, James. Thank you.
Thanks, Jade. Thanks for coming along tonight. Most appreciated.
It's actually the first time I've heard you read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we do
Oh,
have your free books on the shelf. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
well, I know you've got those.
Like Questions, but very
But-
much bibliography.
I want to work on short stories next, and so I think I'll probably come along to your cosmic storytelling, read out one of my short stories.
Saturday, 2 o'clock.
What do you think about that?
yeah, that'll be really good, James, if you come along.
Okay.
Cool, thanks, James. Okay, so the next artist who was meant to be performing, Dylan Caswell, also known as Dynamic MC. I don't think he's actually arrived yet. So the third person who, if you may go next, is Peter Rowe. Is that all right to go now, Peter? Oh, unmute yourself, please.
Ah, yes. Okay, that helps.
Hi, Peter. How you doing?
Good evening. I'm okay. Right. So I'll just launch straight in then, shall I? Is everybody ready? Yeah. Okay. Right. You may have detected a northern accent, and I originally came from the north of England, and I was born and brought up about 15 miles from Manchester. And one of the things that sat in our culture and our consciousness was the Peterloo massacre, because that was quite a big thing for us up there. It was about the working classes getting downtrodden. So I had this poem in my head for some time, or I just hadn't found the angle for it. And so this is what came out about a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago, but it had been sort of lurking there for a while. So it's called Giving Voice. Heads loaded with songs of hope and glory, shoulder by shoulder, held back like a big, happy dog, jostling along the narrow streets and cobbles. At last we spread across the field and square, flowing like a sea of hopeful sheep. Our number and our clothing brought loud and bright by exuberant voices of wives and children. A thin blue vein spreads out before us, yeomen, the blue blood of wealth and privilege. Harsh shouts, staccato voices of command sound off. The glint of silver as sabres flash in the sunlight, and the crowd surges. A wave of sound and movement ripples across the square. We are become beast, flailing, stepping upon our brothers and sisters to escape this unholy hell. The day that hope was dashed and splashed in bloody flowers on the chests of the people. Then to follow that, when I came down here, I found that obviously there was some similar sort of memories down here, but they're all tied up with Judge Jeffreys and the bloody assizes and things like that. So I am actually involved in writing a book at the moment about revolution in the Southwest, and that'll cover a lot of the different revolutions. There's been a lot up down here: prayer book riots, bread riots, machine breakers riots. There's so many of them. I think they're a contentious lot down here in the Southwest. Anyway, this next one is called Colonel Abraham Holmes, and it's based on a true story, and it's based on the last words that were recorded of Colonel Abraham Holmes as well. So, at Lyme, we did but land at 10 with Monmouth and 100 men. By night they came by the score, and morning came their hundreds more. With smiles and joy we were greeted there. We had no doubt our cause was fair. Our party was by Monday morn 2,000 foot and 300 borne upon the backs of horses brought by normal folks with no second thought that we could fail in our plan or we'd be captured every man. So now I return to Lyme again, one of 12 ill-judged men. They will hang us high on this day, and when we're dead, our quarters lay in squares and trees about the town in hope to put the rebellion down. But while these horses still draw breath, they refuse to draw us to our death. So they sent for more to pull the cart, but when they pull, it falls apart. We cannot help but see this sign as approval from our God divine. So we walk ourselves with heads held high on this fine day, the day we die. So passed Colonel Holmes in Lyme for a brave rebellion before its time. This next one is called The Last Privateers, and obviously Francis Drake amongst them. He was a privateer at some stage, endorsed by Queen Elizabeth, and but at some stage they became inconvenient, and they were either had to come back into the fold or they were hunted down. So, and this is what this is about, and it's meant to look. It's a poem that was written in the style of a William Turner painting. So, The Last Privateers. This darkling sky, this virescent sea, speak of a storm that is yet to be. A sudden fulguration exposes the harbour, the Stormbird in dock, and the Argosy beside her. Darkness comes back to the maleficent sky. Night sight returns to my storm startled eye. My own light unmasked, 3 flashes by my hand, 3 flashes in return from the distant headland. A darkened bark launches into the water, slicing the waves, standing before her. On muffled oars, her small crew gripping through Stygian waters, silently slipping. The Stormbird and Argosy entirely nescient, crews fixed on loading their faces intent. The bark rapidly closing, the oars dip and fly, the motion invisible against the storm-darkened sky. Shadows slip from the bark as the distance is closed, a spark in the night as a match is exposed, an answering spark that fizzes and flashes as the last man leaves without any splashes. The fire ship gains speed, it's nearing its mark. A watchman spots the spark on the bark. A frantic clanging of the clarion bell comes just too late. It's a final death knell. A fulminous explosion rips the vessels apart, breaking their backs and bursting their heart. A mephitic pillar of smoke, the broken Argosy, signals the resolve of the great British Navy. Fat raindrops fall from a black leaden sky, a prelude to a deluge where pirate flags fly. Right. Sorry about this. take a slug before I do this next one. It's right. I mean, you can unmute yourselves if you want to. I'm quite happy with feedback. And this one, it might benefit from that. Does anybody know from about the Trafalgar Way?
No.
No, the Trafalgar Way is basically the route that the news of Nelson's victory at Trafalgar took. It basically came ashore on the south coast, and then it travelled along roads and through towns all the way to the Admiralty in London. And this is the story about how that news got there. And there was a bit of a rivalry between two of the ship's captains. One was tasked with taking the information. The other one decided that it would be a good idea if he took it, because then he'd get a promotion for delivering such good news. So he tried to steal the other's orders. So this is...
I just wanted to say, Pete, sorry to interrupt when you were about to go into it, that Nelson's body, Slane was talking about the street you live in. Just across the road is an 18th century naval hospital, and there used to be a creek, and there's an archway in the back, which is where they brought Nelson's body back from Trafalgar.
It's Stonehouse.
In the barrel, without so much rum in it.
Oh, right. Oh, yes. Probably kept him fresh. It was a tradition. I think they used to do that.
Once you time travel back there, do like an event back in time. You'll be the perfect person to headline that.
I'd love to go there. Anyway, this one's called First Past the Post. So, welcome to Cape Trafalgar, where conditions are not good. Many French and Spanish have already fallen, but as the crowd thins, a clear leader is already emerging. The going can best be described as rough or choppy following the recent storm. The nation's favourite, Nelson on Victory, was an early faller. Second favourite, Collingwood on Royal Sovereign, was a later lamed with a broken mast. Lieutenant Le Penetaire was sent with first dispatch on HMS Pickle. Sykes, driving Nautilus, heads him off. Le Penetaire, on Admiral's instructions, sends Sykes to Lisbon with a flea in his ear. Sykes exercises his zeal for service before heading north on Nautilus. Frenchmen off Finisterre force the Nautilus to take a longer route. Le Penetaire on Pickle takes an early lead as he heads into Falmouth. Sykes on Nautilus arrives in Plymouth, stealing the lead from Le Penetaire, and it's Admiral Young that sends Sykes onward post-chase as if Pickle has fallen. Collingwood takes his colours on Euryalus, sends second dispatch with Lieutenant Young on HMS Entreprenante, coming up hard to Faro and the British consul, and then on to the embassy in Lisbon. So, as we head east for the Admiralty, its first dispatch, bringing up the rear, that is Le Penetaire from HMS Pickle, out of Falmouth, heading to Truro, Bodmin and Launceston. Sykes for HMS Nautilus out of Plymouth over Dartmoor, heading for Exeter, driving the field and leading by a nose. Collingwood takes his colours to HMS Queen and sends Captain Blackwood with HMS Euryalus from Cape Trafalgar direct to Falmouth with third dispatch. At the head of the pack, fancying his chances, it's still Sykes from Nautilus, heading through Honiton, Axminster and Bridport and on to Dorchester. And there is just 60 minutes between them. But riding hard on its heels, it is Le Penetaire from Pickle, determined not to let Sykes steal his thunder. He redoubles his efforts. Second dispatch, now on Lord Walsingham, arrives Falmouth, but too late to win this race. Followed a week later by the arrival of Blackwood and third dispatch, also in Falmouth. So as we head into the final stretch of this very important race, the front runners are Sykes from Nautilus and Le Penetaire from Pickle as they head through Blandford, Woodyates, Salisbury, Andover and Overton by Basingstoke, then Hertford Bridge and on to Bagshot. It is Le Penetaire who takes the lead. Sykes is riding hard, but his mounts are not a match for the determination of Le Penetaire. So as we take Staines, Hounslow and finally onto the Admiralty, it is Le Penetaire from Pickle who takes this victory to the Admiralty and seals his place in our history books. Sir, we have gained a great victory. but we've lost Lord Nelson. Sykes from Nautilus is left defeated and weary in the vestibule of Admiralty House.
Woo!
Yay!
Amazing.
How am I doing for time, Chi?
That's really good.
You've got time for more because Dylan isn't going to perform, so you've got time, yeah.
Okay, right. I have one more, or two if you're desperate. So, right. I don't know if anybody else has been trend following recently. There is a lot of movement in the charts at the moment, led by TikTok. There has been a resurgence of interest in this sea shanty, and since I'm on a naval theme tonight, I thought I'd probably do my own sea shanty, although it's on a modern theme, but it's in the style of a sea shanty. So you'll have to excuse my voice. Let me try again. Right. It's called The Tallyman's Tome. In hope we stay at home to avoid the tallyman's tome. We can take our daily walks, but the hooded knave still stalks, collecting what is due, but there's nothing we can do. So in hope we stay at home to avoid the tallyman's tome, and soon we'll get our shot, and thankful that we've got this second chance around with these friends that we have found. So in hope we stayed at home to avoid the tallyman's tome. So in hope we stayed at home to avoid the tallyman's tome. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Lovely hearing your singing voice.
Brilliant, man. Loved it.
A lovely voice.
Right. So do you want me? Am I done at that then? Are we time wise?
One more. Feel
I've
free.
got a very, very, very short one.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Very short.
Yeah.
Okay. This also fits in with the other one. Who killed Cock Robin? Who killed Cock Robin? I, said the corvid. Hear me crow. Who saw him die? I, said the nightingale. I saw him die. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Peter. That was great. Love that. I love all your historical references. And are you actually is this the book that you're going to publish with all these historical poems in?
Yeah, it will. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a way off. Yeah, I was going to do. I was supposed to be doing research last year, going round all these places like Clyst, St Mary, and various other places, Exeter, Crediton, and things like that, because I wanted to access local archives and find out a lot more. But yeah, I mean, I've done all sorts of research behind the scenes, but yeah, I mean, there was. At the time of the Prayer Book rebellions, there was actually about 5,500 Devon and Cornishmen killed around Exeter. 900 of them were basically bound hand and foot, and they were just slaughtered by having their throats cut at Clyst, St Mary. It was a terrible, terrible thing. So, and in 2007, the Bishop of Truro, he actually apologised to the people of Devon and Cornwall. For the actions of the the church at that time, because it was all about doing the prayers in English.
Oh yeah, that's
pretty.
Tia says, brilliant set, Peter. Great to see you doing a full set. I feel like I've learnt a bit of local history too.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing such great knowledge with us, Peter. It's lovely to hear you singing as well.
Thank you.
Next up, we've got Rob C, who is a Plymouth musician, singer-songwriter. He's created lots of albums, and I've actually got 3 of his albums here. He's got way more than this, but we've got The English Spring, Home Sweet Home, and Shag of Ear Food. Can you let me know what shagov means? I don't. Is that?
Still waiting for somebody to tell me.
All right.
It was the name of a party, actually, that we used at the first. It was the place where we first did our first gig. There's somebody else on here who's at that gig, who played in that gig as well.
Who's that then?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's it. It doesn't mean anything, really.
Oh.
Although people used to think it stood for shabby government.
Oh, okay, cool.
Probably even more appropriate now. Actually, it was it was appropriate then. It was major then. No, it's the Johnson. All right, so am I on?
Yeah, you're on. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. First of all, I'd like to say hello to everybody, and in particular one of my partners in rhyme who I haven't spoke to in a while, Brian. Hello, mate. Nice to see you there. If I'd known you were going to join us, I would have reminded myself of one of the songs that we've written together and played one of those, but I haven't. But I'm going to start with a new song actually, because it's a good opportunity. I've not been able to go out and do gigs these days to actually, try some new stuff out. And this is one I've co-wrote with another person who joined us tonight. He's still here, yeah. Cy Hackers. We've been kind of keeping ourselves busy and sane during lockdown, sending stuff to each other, making Zoom phone calls and recording some songs which we're putting online and sort of doing videos with everything. I don't know what, we're just trying to keep alive really. The first song I'm going to play is pretty much a new song actually. I think it was written this year. I don't know when. That Simon sent me the words and or some of the words, and I wrote a tune to it, and then we kind of knocked it back and forwards a bit, and I think it's nearly finished. We're still debating. I won't play the instrumental section in the middle, but so it's a song about. It directly kind of refers to the situation that lots of us have been in over the last 10 months or so, particularly musicians. The song's called "Last Band Standing." Which is probably quite self-explanatory, and hopefully when I sing the song it'll become further explained. So this is a premiere public performance of this song. I remember when we made them dance before a change of circumstance. Just a few survived somehow. They're the last band standing now. Every other bar was filled with sound, till it all went underground. Some carried on in the open air, but only with the weather fair. And now Johnny fits kitchens for a minimum wage, drinks every night to control the rage. He ain't been right since he sold his gear, paying the rent in a time of fear. The pretty things are back on the tools, the mavericks conforming to rules, dictated by a cabal of fools. The pretty things are back on the tools, they're back on the tools. I remember when we used to hug. Performance high is such a powerful drug. Pop and pop as they shut off the juice. Reset the switch, but it was all no use. The ballerinas at the back of the queue, tiny dancers disappeared from view. Mavericks who ignored all the rules. And now the pretty things back on the tools. And now the band have gone their separate ways. It's the only way to survive these days. Closure, restriction, indiscriminate rules from a pack of upper-class, overprivileged fools. The pretty things are back on the tools. The mavericks conforming to rules, dictated by a cabal of fools. The pretty things are back on the tools. But first I need to source my tools, cause my next job's in revolution. It's time we leveled up, time to share out the guns and ammunition. Cause this is my volition, It's a radical position, but it's a logical decision. Joe is on a building site, minimum pay. His nerves all shot, living day to day. Benny got a job as a delivery guy. Wife and baby back home, they never ever let her see him cry. Now I tip my head to the last band standing, and I will raise a glass to the last band standing. Now I tip my head to the last band standing. I will raise a glass to the last man standing. Now I tip my head to the last man standing. I will raise a glass to the last man standing. The pretty things are back on the tools. The mavericks conforming to rules dictated by to the last band standing. Thank you. Woo! Funny enough, all I had on my screen there was Brian Herdman. Is that could people see me, or could they just see Brian Herdman's name?
I can see you.
He's
Right.
there.
I don't know why, but you know,
There, believe it
it's
or
pretty
not.
fucking disconcerting. Brian, are you
Always
winding me up, mate?
The good news is that we've got loads of people on Facebook tuning in, so we've got quite a nice audience now.
All right, my sound is okay, is it?
It sounds really good. I love your new song
Yeah.
as well. Really love your new
Thank
song.
you. Yeah, just a co-writing credit there to Mr. Cy Hackers. He kind of really initiated that song, and he kind of washed and I wiped. Sorry, I've nicked that straight from Tom Waits. That's out of order.
Good song, boys.
Brian's back on the screen again. I don't get this. Every time I play my guitar, Brian Herdman's name pops up on my screen.
It's a good song. Can you hear me?
Cheers, Brian. You all right, mate?
Brian?
Yeah, I'm just putting my face up there because I don't want to distress anyone.
No, all right. You could turn your mic off and then it might go back to my camera on my screen. Okay. Anyway, as long as you can see me, it's just the fact that it's written really large on my screen. Okay. The next song, I can't remember if I played this at the last Wonder Zoo event or not. I can't remember when that was. Was it about September when I did one? And I was probably in the process of writing this song then.
September, I think, was the last gig you did with us. Was about September, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. I might have played it. It might have been the first time I played it. But I'm going to play it again because I know it better now. So this is a song about... I grew up in up north in a place called Whitley, which is just out by Crownhill. It's not as far north as Manchester, I know, Brian, but it's north for me, North Plymouth. On the Whitley estate, biggest estate in the country, I think, when it was built. So this is a song about a glorious day in Whitley when after people had been living there for about 2 years, trudging through fields and without any roads, and then the first bus turned up. So it's like a glorious occasion, worthy of a song, I thought, like a proper folk song. So here we go. We feel stranded here, yet they think it's our riddle. Abandoned by those pushing pairs. They said you should be grateful, but you're troublemakers. They couldn't see it through our lens. And trudging through dark muddy fields, wet cement and tar, the daily run, the gauntlet thrown, contempt held from afar. We line the streets all gathered round. The day the first bus came to town, clapped and cheered and stamped the ground. The wheels so perfectly round, the horn a beautiful sound. So line the streets and gather round, 'cause today the first bus came to town. Times were hot back then, but then they always are. Still, there's no excuses. They built the house, but then they didn't build the road. All your platitudes were useless. Like the farmers you sent packing, we all studied to relocate. But we came back stronger fighting, took control of our own fates. We lined the streets all gathered round. The day the first bus came to town, clapped and cheered and stamped the ground. The wheels so perfectly round, the horn a beautiful sound. So grab a seat and settle down, 'cause today the first bus came to town. Well, I come from a city that's just been destroyed. That's a repeat of a show that I want to avoid. And every new pavement and every new road brought joy to a people once sad to behold. We trip over memories and walk in the walls. The house where I was born still stands, whilst everything around it falls. We line the streets all gathered round. The day the first bus came to town, clapped and cheered and stamped the ground. The wheels so perfectly round, the horn a beautiful sound. So paint your face and we'll paint the town, 'cause today the first bus came to town. Today the first bus came to town. Everybody! Today the first bus came to town. So gather round. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
I like that song anyway.
I love that one, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Rob, I lived in Whitley for 5 years on Horton Avenue.
All right, I lived on Budshead Road.
Oh,
Budshead
yeah,
Road.
really close, just round the corner.
Yes. I was born in Budshead Road.
Oh, yeah.
I went to
Horton Avenue. Gee, to Horton Avenue is the place where the bus went from, the first bus.
Oh,
Yeah, they drove down and they had like this tea party and they made tea and cakes for the driver, and then the bus kind of pulled out of the top of Taunton Avenue and then went back in to the city centre. So
Oh, no, I didn't know
Not
that.
Whitley Bay in Yorkshire, is it? No.
No, it's a part of Plymouth. It's like,
when I said up north, I meant North Plymouth.
Well, yeah, I'd be confused, you see.
I'll explain.
When you said up north, I was like, I'm sure he said Whitley, but sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I thought, oh, Whitley Bay. I went there and it snowed on Easter Sunday. That was in May.
I went there in April once, and I was really disappointed because, like, I'm a little bit goth. But my son and I actually turned up in Whitby the weekend of the Goth Festival, and we hadn't known. And we like they're in mesh tops with eyeliner and shit. Like, I mean, my son was like 10.
Oh, yeah, vampires.
Long now. And we're like, we're not goth enough. Okay.
All right, shall I go again? I can explain. I can explain.
Nora.
The song leads me neatly to the next piece. I only know one spoken word thing that I've written, so I'm going to do that because it's like a spoke, and then I'm going to finish with one of my greatest hits. Somebody can laugh at that if they want. So I'm just, in case you're not noticing here, I'm rocking a very local hat, I, even though I'm from North Whitley, I still consider myself to be a proper Janner, and sometimes people say to me, Rob, what's a Janner? And thank you. I'm back on my screen now, and I say, they say it's someone who's born within sight of the sea. Well, you might not agree that applies to me. I might come from the north, from a place called Whitley, but I'm more of a Janner than you'll ever be. Well, I once had a break, lived in Bristol City. I came back to the muff because it wasn't for me. I crossed over the bridge and lived overseas. But Cornwall's no place for a Janner like me. I don't shop at Tesco or JS Sainsbury. I'm more partial to Londis and places like Aldi. I stick to the West End of town if I can, where Kirsty and Stacey are hatching a plan. The Westo Chippy is fine dining to me. Captain Jasper's the snack box in Ivor Jude Knee. It's all you can eat down at Buffet City. If you went there 9 times, then the 10th one was free. Well, it's not gourmet food, but it does it for me. I've been known to partake in a cafe latte. I went to the uni. I did Media Lab Arts. I studied Adorno and boring old farts. I went to the Tate, checked out Damien Hirst. It did nothing for me, but I still got a first. You don't have to be clever to get a degree. If I wasn't a Janner, I'd have 2 or 3. 2 guys in the Dolphin said, you're not from round here. I said, I've only come in for a nice quiet beer. My mum's from Catdown and my dad was from Swilly, but I'm more of a Janner than they'll ever be. I spend quite some time down in Plymouth City. I like to give every busker at least 50p. I like to hear a good song as it floats on the breeze, and I don't believe music should always be free. I like Crazy Arm, Vince Lee and Mad Dog McCree, and Marlo S. Tone is my favourite MC. I've gigged at the Thistle and down the Million. I was there at the birth of the PMC. Down on the Bobby, the missus and me got some grief from a chav as he pissed in the sea. He don't like your types, what he said to Mandy. I said, I'm more of a Janner than you'll ever be, mate. This is my final song about Kirsty and Stacey. She said, meet me down past the end, I'll buy you an Ivor. We could do the charity shops, I could lend you a £5. We'll walk the long way around to get into Primark. Use the cop station entrance by that trash landmark. Because it's all students and posh folks at the top end of town. Later we can walk to Plymouth Hoe and stare at Plymouth Sound. Check the yachts and the Barbie, see how the other half live. Pick up 10 lighters from that market stall for just a couple of quid. We could take the kid to Janet Disney above you one day. Sit and watch her little face as she plays. Then we'll pay $5.99 for a drink and a chivery. 'Cause I'm sick of sitting at home waiting for the cavalry. Get some fish and chips and some drink on the way home. It's good telly tonight and I'm home alone. But we'll have to nick some stuff first, take it round to Brenda's. Swing by Wayne's, get some weed, we'll be back by EastEnders. I'm gonna put my name down for a council flat. Get away from my little brother because he's such a fucking twat. Him and his dodgy mates, they go out slashing people's tyres, looking for random people to tax and stoking the fires. I'm gonna save some money up and visit my dad and Nick. He calls me a little princess, says I can have my pick. But boys of trouble, I'd rather have you as my friend. At least with you I never have to pretend. I want to get my tongue pierced and a new tattoo, like my mum did when she had me back in '92. Steve's with that Tracy now, I bet he hits her like he hit me. Which is a bit of a slag, but it still seems like a pity. He used to go on about those fit girls on Hollyoaks, but he can hardly get it up with all that weed he smokes. He doesn't see the baby now, and that's how I want it to stay. I just hope I can find someone to care for us one day. Remember at school we used to dream all day. Johnny and Brad would come to take us away, but they never came, and now they're stuck down past the end. At least through all this shit I still have you, my friend. And one day you'll have your big day out. 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 Thank you.
Woo!
Thank you, Rob. That was brilliant, as always.
Brilliant.
Thanks, guys. It's been a while since I've played to people.
That's an amazing song. I've heard that a few times now, but it never gets old.
I liked your spoken word as well. That was pretty good.
I've got to say, Rob, there's 2 songs of yours I don't have, actually. I feel like I've got millions of yours. That one, and I definitely don't have the nuclear one that you do, because I love that nuclear one.
Which one's that?
We talk about a nuclear war.
All right. Yeah, all right. I'll burn your CDs of those, Pete.
All right. Because those 2, man, I was like, oh my God, those, as local music, they're like one of my favourite songs.
I don't think you can play that song on P-Town Radio, though. I've got a parental advisory version of it, actually.
Oh, we play what we want on P-Town Radio.
Oh, that's cool. In that case, I'll send it over to you tonight. All right, am I done?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Woo! We're now going to have a 10-minute break, so we'll see you all here at 8:37. So feel free to go and have a cup of tea or stay and chat. Tommy, are you right to kick off with your poem?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to find a really good one.
Oh.
Right, do Alone. It's
all right. Yeah. Okay. All right. This one's called Alone. I wrote this, but I didn't know why. Alone, walking down a road, silence stalks the top of my throne. Boredom is the darkness of my home. The family I have, the friends I have are in my mind. Empty, dusty, broken streets. Tumbling weeds, they pass my feet. Rolling, roaming the empty, dusty, broken streets. I trip over the bones of friends and family and all the allies that I had.
There you go.
It doesn't brighten up the mood, I'm sorry.
Right, none of mine does either.
I did
one more and that's it, man. Go on in.
Got any more?
I do strums. I think rhythm's good. It's a little one that's up there.
Okay.
The strums of the strings, the beat of the rhythm makes my heart thump. The chords make me stop and tap until my head bangs in mosh.
That's-
Oh man, well done, Tommy. Thank
Very
you.
good.
all right, you happy with that?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Everyone give Tommy another round, man. I mean, yeah.
Thank you.
Tommy, thank you.
So our next performer is the great Tim King. He is the current Bard of Exeter, and he's a hugely talented performance poet and also a host of a weekly open mic session, and he does regular online gigs as well. So hi Tim, nice to have you here.
Hi Chi, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
How are you? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah. how
Good.
about-
Yeah, you seem all right. Yeah, good. I'm good. I'm quite looking forward to this evening. Well, I know. I mean, I've enjoyed this evening so far. I'm looking forward to the rest of it as well. Not necessarily the next 10 minutes, but hey, who knows? I thought I'd start with something that I wasn't going to do because James reminded me that Valentine's Day is coming up, and I have just once, tried to write a kind of romantic love poem. So this is my attempt at that. This is called Valentine. Your eyes are the windows to your visual cortex. Sometimes when you look away, I glimpse your superego. You may not wish to hear this, but your id is rarely hid from me, though on the up it also is not hideous. Some poets write as if they are the only ones alive, asking, have you seen the sunset? Did you watch it rise? And if you did, don't you wish you could have seen it through these eyes? With the poetic redundancy of a sky cerulean blue. Oh, hold on. Said I wasn't going to do this. An aesthete's sensitivity, a deeper shade of true. I say, screw that. Roses are red, violets purple mauve. You, my love, are honourable. Unlike Michael Gove, he's right honourable. And you're a bit of a lefty. Thank you. That kind of leads me into the main thing that I'm going to do, which is quite a long ranty thing that I wrote today, which means I've not learned it. So I'm going to have to read it. It might be quite a slow rant because I'm reading it, but that's all right. And it's really because well, two things. One, I was really inspired by the title of this session. And the second is that I'm a bit tired of being gaslighted by the government. So this is called All Views Expressed are the Artist's Own. All views expressed are the artist's own. You can teach a man to fish, but give a dog a bone and he'll crush it and gnaw it and suck out the jelly, then roll on his back till you tickle his belly. You don't have to tickle mine. No, really, I'm fine. I'm just here to have a pop at the government. I'm unhappy how they've broken their covenant to serve and inspire us, to lead and protect, because they work for us. Let me be direct. Their shit show is served up with willful neglect. With no shred of respect, they have skillfully wrecked the health service, businesses, livelihoods, lives of 100,000 husbands and wives, mothers and daughters, fathers, sons, grandparents, godparents, all of them gone. A sad affair, surely, but let me go further. They've done it for cash, and that makes it murder. Contracts for essential public services handed to friends as favours, to faithful party donors with negligible expertise, rather than placed with companies and agencies with proven track records and the ability to deliver. This criminal negligence has resulted in failures to procure adequate PPE, track and trace systems, test kits, failure to staff White Elephant, Nightingale hospitals, and, most importantly, a catastrophic failure to protect the British public. This, quoted directly from an editorial on the official British Medical Journal website, was published on the 27th of January 2021. That is to say, yesterday. The UK's pandemic response relies too heavily on scientists and other government appointees with worrying competing interests, including shareholdings in companies that manufacture COVID-19 diagnostic tests, treatments, and vaccines. Government appointees are able to ignore or cherry-pick science and indulge in anti-competitive practices that favour their own products and those of friends and associates. Suppressing science, whether by delaying publication, cherry-picking favourable research, or gagging scientists, is a danger to public health, causing deaths by exposing people to unsafe or ineffective interventions and preventing them from benefiting from better ones. When entangled with commercial decisions, it is also maladministration of taxpayers' money. Boris, I know sometimes you pretend to be hard of understanding, so let me make this clear. Those well-known radicals at the BMJ are openly accusing you of corruption and of knowingly pursuing policies that result in countless avoidable deaths. And they're right. When you took the population and dropped them in the blender, you already knew the virus would not bend to your agenda. You said the only way to win was to take it on the chin, face up to the reality of multiple fatalities. You thought 20,000 would be a result. What kind of cult could even contemplate such terror? Yet now that number sits within the bounds of error. 100,000 dead, 120,000? The answer depends on which government agency you ask. Do you remember the Grenfell Tower tragedy, where 72 people burned alive in their homes because of the failure of governments, both local and national, to fulfil their duty of care to some of the most vulnerable residents of Kensington and Chelsea? Did you follow that inquiry? Take on board the allegations of the cost-cutting excesses of contracted corporations compromising health and safety to maximise profits because, in short, poor people's lives matter less than shareholder returns? Well, yes, of course you remember the Grenfell Tower. You told the Commons those affected were overlooked before the tragedy and failed following it. Can you imagine that conflagration repeated across this nation every 6 hours for an entire year, resulting in more than 1,400 Grenfell Towers? Well, no one needs to imagine it, because that's the scale of death and suffering your government has provided over during this pandemic. 1,400 Grenfell Towers. The scale of death and suffering your government has allowed. 1,400 Grenfell Towers. Your watch, your responsibility. Does it strike you as strange how the demographics of the Grenfell victims so closely align with the current crisis? Still, I predict when this is over, you'll get a knighthood, not a noose, and come Christmas time, you'll hire in some help to cook your goose. Though you may cross their palms with silver, you'll hang on to all your gold and live devoid of consequence for the countless lives you've sold, because cash is your religion and adheres to blood-stained hands. It speaks the only language that your kind understands. not accountability, but accountancy. Allow me to co-opt some financial terminology. You see me? I am not a deposit, nor am I alone. I won't hide in the closet, I'll stay here in the zone, and while I'm here, I'll posit your heart is made of stone. And though personally I don't support the death penalty, I have a deal of sympathy with those who say you deserve to hang for this. Sorry, Boris, harsh, I know. One final thing before I go, please don't sue the Wonder Zoo. There's no way they could have known. All views expressed are the artist's own. All views expressed are the artist's own. All views expressed are this artist's own, except for those published in the British Medical Journal. Thank you.
Whoa.
Wow.
That was really good. Thank you.
You're more than welcome.
I'm quite honoured that you wrote something
King for
around
PM.
the event. To me,
I'm pathetically grateful that you made us legally exempt.
yes. Yeah. Well,
No,
I would go to prison with you. I would never let you go on your own.
Thank you.
I'll come and visit you, Tim, and bring you sandwiches.
I know Pete Ray would be definitely like not be with us in prison. He would be grassing us up.
I would grass you all up and make a deal.
Yeah. No,
You're-
it's really good. It's good to put some honesty out there. Do you know what I mean?
Tia Maraki says, wow, Tim, that was brilliant. And Harula Lad says, Tim King for Prime Minister.
No, thank you. But thank you.
Yeah.
It's all right. You be a puppet leader. We'll deal with it.
Okay, that's yeah.
I've always wanted to be the leader of the Stonehouse Republic, but I like to declare independence from England in the Stonehouse Republic. You see.
Yeah, but
Plymouth.
like I would launch a coup within half an hour.
I get a key from Gabby. That's the only trouble. I have to get rid
I'm
of
one
her.
of nature's coup leaders.
But nah, brilliant. So we give her a round of applause, man. That was really good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Give it to Chief.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't realise it was finished. Sorry. Next up, we have Plymouth's Young City Laureate, Holly Peters. Hi, Holly.
Yeah, you're right.
I'll just say a little bit about you from what I've researched. So you're the Young City Laureate, and in 2020, you made the top 50 cool list in Plymouth, which is amazing. And you've been recently published, your poetry is recently published in the Lockdown Rhythm. And over 2020, you were writing diary entries, COVID-19 digital diary. So you're sort of like reporting on your feelings and everything over that time. So that's great. It's lovely to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
So yeah, really looking forward to what you're going to present.
Thank you. Can I just quickly say how brilliant all the performances have been tonight? It was really cool to be here. Thanks for inviting me. So this first poem is called My Dark Side of the Moon. Mirror, mirror on every wall, only my reflection, and still I'm not the fairest of them all. Trapped in a labyrinth, hoping for a minotaur, any enemy greater than myself, greater than my beady eye. Mum's nose, dad's chin, staring back at me from every angle. A gift, a curse, a path to follow. One pulls, the other squishes, wide, long, a trick of the light. Another gives me a spine that wriggles like a snake in the garden. She too was haunted, puddles, ponds, windows, everywhere. I stare and stare, waiting for petals to sprout from my neck like gills, but they don't. Trace a pimple, a splatter of dark hair that shouldn't be there, a winding mirror maze where I am every obstacle. I could stick my hand in, pull her through, out of the depths, before she drowns a waterless death. But I can't reach. She meets my hand, my palm, she's cold. Which of us is real? Which of us is true? She stares at me, and I stare at you. An upside-down world where we are the length of our hair, the size of our waist. But now I know. Once I stop scrutinising, I hear her whisper, she is the key. All I must do is break the glass, then only one of us will exist beyond this shrinking mirror maze. And I, as I wish to be, free, can bask on my own dark side of the moon.
That was great.
Thank you. So this next one is called The Rose Tower. He sowed the seeds not long ago, surrounding the tower a moat of buds, a sea of red roses, lips, blood. He fed them, watered them, raised them as his own, watched them bloom, taught them to be tall and proud, tended, nourished, nurtured. But then he chopped them back, pillaged each petal, pruned, sheared, raked, stripped. The flowers cowered in his shadow, the tall towers starving them of light, smaller and smaller, smaller still. He looked down at their unstained petals, his children, his subjects, each identical to the one before, trouble and trowel, power and fear, their beauty his to own, helpless. Day after day, the gardener came to fertilize his Garden of Eden, helpless. They used their thorns against him, but when he pricked his finger, he didn't fall asleep. An inch, a foot growing taller, until he gripped their tangled roots and tugged them deeper into the soil, harvesting each ruby, a home that never felt safe, forever trapped under his green thumb. The sky became their glass case. Night fell, silver stars winking at them, knots of stems hand in hand, a paper chain of girls, shoulder to shoulder, standing to attention, an army of roses. They chanted a song, made his tower quake, the gardener on his knees, begging and begging, please. But they couldn't hear him. All they heard was grow, grow, grow.
That's lovely.
Okay. And then the last poem I'm going to read is one all about Plymouth. So this is called The She in the Sea. Her waves crash over me. She whispers secrets of the city, pirates and pilgrims, sailors and soldiers. Everything's lighter in the water. My hair, my limbs, my worries. Curling up the crumbling walls, curious to take a step into a city she's been sentenced to protect all her life. She gets frustrated, forced to sit just outside and watch as her children leave and arrive, using her as nothing more than a stepping stone. She thrashes. With the splashing of the tide, she throws herself against jagged rock faces, screaming for them to acknowledge her, to hear her. They don't even realize that the salty smell floating on the breeze is always her tears. She weeps. There's a reason why when we cover our ears, we can all hear the sea. She tells me stories as old as time, travellers and tourists, explorers and exiles, a blitz of memories hidden in her dark blue depths, lit up by the lighthouse that was built to be close to her, but too far to truly know all she is, all she can be. In the sea, finally, I have found something as infinite as me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Holly. I love the last line of your final poem, as infinite as me. I think that's brilliant.
Thank you.
That was really good. It's the first time I've heard you, Holly, and I've heard great things from Tom Bolton.
Oh, lovely. Thank you.
It's really great to have you here.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Next up, we've got Plymouth's newly appointed Laureate of Words, Laura Horton. Hi, Laura.
Hiya.
Hi, Laura. So Laura is also a publicist and a playwright, and yeah, recently appointed Plymouth's Laureate of Words, the first woman to hold this position. So that's wonderful. And yeah, recently we were chatting on the radio show, and she read one of her pieces about Plymouth, which was absolutely amazing. So I'm really looking forward to what you're going to read now. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you for having me. I'm really enjoying it. So I'm going to read an extract of a full-length play. I'm not a poet, and I'm very unused to reading my work out because normally actors do it. So please be gentle with me. So this is a play called Labyrinth Diet. I'm also going to read the stage directions as well. Okay. A culture fixated on female thinness is not an obsession about female beauty, but an obsession about female obedience. Dieting is the most potent political sedative in women's history. A quietly mad population is a tractable one. Naomi Wolf. I read this quote to a room full of very slim, slightly drunk women I mainly don't know at this clothes swap party. They all stare at me. I stare back. I'm holding my flute up like a trophy, but it doesn't help that I'm standing in Spanx and a bra. I try and pull up the spandex awkwardly, but my fingernail bends back. I'm looking at Georgie. She's looking away. I think she's rolled her eyes. maybe she's smirking, I can't tell. I can't bring myself to look at anyone else. Are they willing me to say more? I want to continue hammering my point. I just don't have any clever words of my own. I down my drink and Google for more words of wisdom. Women against dieting quotes, I type, and I read the top one aloud without reading it in my head first. Looking good and feeling good go hand in hand. A quote from Jason Statham. I'm scrolling down my phone frantically, but I can't find any more. I'm sure they're judging my body. Look at her thighs, she'll never be loved. Imagine being that fat. Look at the wrinkles around her eyes. Ooh, she's got a hairy upper lip. I put my hands on my hips for a strong stance, but instantly feel uncomfortable and drop them to my sides. I wish this was happening in the safety of a dream. I contemplate my options. Should I just back out of the door, leave the party, go home and hope they don't remember this? Maybe they're too drunk to remember this. Maybe I should get so drunk I don't remember this. Will it be something I'll look back on with shame when I'm an old lady, like the way I sometimes remember things I said when I was 14 that were so horrendously misjudged they still make me squirm? The last time I felt this on display, the last time I made myself this visible, was on a school trip to a farm for city kids when I was 10. We were sharing an 8-bed dorm. A big argument erupted and cruel words were spat in the dark for what felt like hours. I needed to stop it. I acted quickly and without thinking, I turned on the light, positioned myself in the center of the room and did the craziest, weirdest, wildest moves I could get my body to do, my thick hair slapping uncontrollably around my face, limbs flying in all directions. This was later known as the witch dance. Everybody was agog, just like they are now, but laughter erupted and stopped the fighting. I decided to try and break the tension. Look, all I'm saying is, imagine if we stopped caring so much and just embraced being an average size. Who wants to be average? But I don't think being overweight is healthy. She's not. I'm not saying she is, but if we all stopped caring and ate Battenberg all day, well, look, I'm going to top you all up, okay? Forget I said anything. Everyone is sitting in total silence as I fill up their drinks. I place the bottle back down and glance at the table filled with empty bowls of carrot sticks and huge bowls of untouched crisps. I hear the rumblings of their bellies. What I do next at this party is a dangerous political act. I open the crisps and I actually start to eat them, stuffing them in heartily and licking my fingers. I move into the center of the room and hold my hands up in the air. I start to twist my wrists in a sort of flamenco display, and then I just go for it. I start moving my body in the daftest, strangest ways I can think of, and the more I move, the more I stop thinking and just let my wonderful, clever, average body do what it wants to do. I do the witch dance. To be honest, I can't remember what that involves. Louise does the witch dance. She gets more and more into it until she is undeniably having a wonderful time. I do this dance and my hair smacks wildly around my face, and I don't care that my thighs are on display and wobbling in their faces in their shocked goldfish stares. And then someone turns the music up and they're all up around me, cackling loudly. Carmel and Lucinda grab handfuls of crisps and stuff them into their mouths like they've never tasted anything so delicious. Georgie swigs Prosecco from the bottle. She grabs my hand and squeezes it. Miranda licks out the hummus tub. Sarah twerks. I laugh, and I just keep doing what I'm doing. I will do this until I'm out of breath, and that might not be too long. I know it's cliche for dancing to be the joyful crescendo of an evening, but it's probably the case because it actually does make you feel amazing, however you do it. Whatever happens in the next half an hour, tomorrow night, next week or next year, whether or not Georgie and I go back to sporadic communication, whether or not I see her again, whether I cry over my ex, binge eat cheese, do an exercise class, have sex, write an article, get sick, wank, make a new friend, go to a funeral of a loved one, cry, wank, live on my own, get a dog, shit myself, have a massage, buy a new dress, sell a dress, whatever's in store, I can't control all of it. In fact, there are only certain things I do have agency over. The never-ending cycle of dieting, I can leave that and I will. I'm jumping over the hedge and running to freedom. We have right now we are women doing what the cunting hell we like. Louise keeps dancing for some moments and then she stops abruptly. Only this doesn't happen anywhere but in my head. This is what I imagine. This is what I would like. I eat the crisps and I do the witch dance. That does happen. And then I stop when I am out of breath and they are all disgusted. Lucinda stands up and exits. She comes back with a vacuum cleaner, plugs it in and hoovers up around us. It's excruciating. It didn't have the effect it had in childhood, this dance. I sip my drink, I down my drink. I can't come back from this. I look around at this group of women. We're all here trying for something. For whatever reason, I feel I don't fit in. That has nothing to do with them. I scan for my bag and I see the pile of ill-fitting clothes I had planned to take home with me tonight to make me feel worse about myself. The clothes I could wear somewhere in my mind that don't fit. I realise that I'm coveting things for a very generic idea of a life I will never have and a life I'm not even sure I want. I leave the pile. I move towards Georgie. Thanks for inviting me tonight. She smiles weakly at me and looks away. I've embarrassed her in front of her friends. Thank you all for a lovely evening. I get my coat and conversation starts up again quietly. I grab the other unopened bag of crisps to eat in bed later. I unlock the door. Suddenly Georgie is behind me. She's holding up my yellow dress for some reason, the dress I didn't want to give up. I think for a second she's going to give it back, realising how much it means. I'm going to try it on in the mirror. Okay. She stops and looks at me, moves towards me. Drinks next week, I say. I'll let you know, it's quite busy at the moment. I nod and smile. I'll go for that drink anyway. I'll sit outside on my own with no notebook, no distraction, just me. Bye, Georgie. I run my hand along the length of the yellow dress. I close the door behind me and I let go. That's it.
Brilliant.
Thanks.
I love you, Laura.
Oh, that was so brilliant. Yeah, that was really amazing, to be honest.
Is that for the play that you're putting on in October?
No, and this one hasn't had a life yet. It was supposed to be on in 2020, but obviously because of the pandemic it got cancelled. So I hope that's supposed to happen in London, but I hope at some point when things open up it'll get a life somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I'd love to see that one.
Laura's a very special woman because she's a laundrette of words, isn't she?
Yeah, I'm dyspraxic, so I can never say that silly word. So I say laundrette instead.
I like that.
Laureate. So it's a laundrette of words, which
Yeah, so I've been
beautiful.
thinking at some point we're doing, when this is over, I was going to do an event in a laundrette to take the piss.
I think we should. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, good. We'll have you headlining it, Em. So we're going to do it in the laundrette, a live event in the laundrette. So I really love that idea.
We wanted.
And then I can actually introduce you as the laundrette of Plymouth.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
We also we wanted Brian Herdman.
And Brian Herdman as well.
Because he's naturally suited to laundrettes.
He is.
That was our plan.
Yeah. So yeah, in the future, everyone, is true. We will be doing an event in a laundrette.
Can I come because I need to do some laundry?
No, you can bring laundry in as long as we can write poetry on it.
Yeah.
And then if it washes off, it's not real.
We're not responsible for that.
I'm just going to read a couple of comments. So from Kevin Sproston, he says, we want to see the witchy dance. Very good, thank you. And from Brian Herdman, brilliant, Laura. You might not think you're a poet, but you have a poetic voice. This caught me from the get-go. So
yeah.
That's so kind. Thank you so much.
Memorised me. So
yeah, I'd love to see that witchy dance as well. Let's do the witchy dance together one day, Laura.
It's actually a true story. I did do that.
Oh, wow, I'm impressed. Harula Lad says, I love that, Laura. Powerful, so well observed and painfully relatable. Definitely want to see the whole play.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
And can I just say, what a perfect pick for Plymouth. Thank you for taking up the position.
Thank you. That's really lovely. Thank you.
You get my clothes cleaner and more stain-free than any other laundrette of words I've ever been to.
Yeah, thank you for that. We'll hand it back to you now because we've just taken over too much.
Yeah, I feel very blessed that we've got the Laureate of Words and the Young City Laureate all on one show. It's just absolutely brilliant. It's so prestigious. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, everyone. And
Tim King.
the Bard of Exeter, and yeah, he wrote the former Bard of Dorchester. So yeah, big names tonight. Our final act is Jacky Garratt, all the way from Land's End in Cornwall. So we know Jacky because one of my friends recommended Jacky as a guest on the radio show. So Jacky did an interview with me, and now she's on Wonder Zoo performing, which is absolutely brilliant.
Explained what radio show?
Oh, on P-Town Radio. So if anyone doesn't know, every Friday evening from 7 till 10, me and Slane do a radio show. So it's sort of like an arts and culture based show with bits of community as well. Like we interview people from the community or from different arts backgrounds. And yeah, Jacky was one of my guests. So that's how we got to know her. And yeah, Jacky is a singer-songwriter. She used to be a...
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt again, Chi. Can you put a link to the radio show in the chat?
Yeah, I will do, yeah.
Right.
Jacky used to be a medical doctor in the NHS, and then she got into the arts a bit later on in life and has been a passionate singer-songwriter since. So hi Jacky, are you there?
That's rude.
Hi Chi, yes, it's been an awful long journey from Land's End, but I managed it. Yeah, thanks for inviting me. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a really good show. Actually, I'm going to do one of my oldest and one of my newest pieces, so just the two pieces. But I wrote the first one when I was a medical student. My job back then was to hang around in the hospital, and when people came in through casualty, to follow them through the system and learn about their diseases and the treatment that they got. And this particular experience affected me quite a lot. And I wrote this poem, which is called Fat Chance. The surgeons snigger outside the theatre. Ha ha ha, he. The only slim thing about her is her chances. They offend my sense of your dignity. Your nakedness had to come before them. To prod and pry was necessity. But as well as mere flesh and piss and pulses, I wish they could see what I still see. Breasts that have nourished a clutch of children, a belly that carried and brought forth life, a body enhanced because you've lived your life in it, a woman's body, a long-loved wife. The examination is full of judgment. Can we get through the blubber? How's her life? Weighing their time against your chances. Do enough people love you to warrant the cost of the knife? There's a long wait while the theatre's made ready. Time paints those breasts a mottled blue. Bare as a newborn, save the oxygen umbilicus and the drip keeping life flowing into you. Far away in the night, a man drives from Hastings, your son. One eye on the mirror and his foot on the floor. Now in the maze of identical high streets, desperate to penetrate London's grey sprawl. He finds the reception. Yes, she's here. Take a seat. Then the nurse comes. It's this way. Do you need to eat? You know it's not likely that we will save her. When did you say her pain began? She's in here. Just a moment. The doctor needs time to check over her scan. He gets a few minutes behind the curtain. He's still bewildered. Does she know I'm here? He's worried his car's parked in the wrong spaces. Ma, can you hear me? Oh, it's so hot in here. Then he has hours of endless pacing, lukewarm tea, nowhere to smoke. Look at all these poor buggers sleeping. Hope I die before I'm an old bloke. His mother's a square of flesh on a table, framed by green shrouds on another floor. Scalpels dig in and blood spills over. After 3 hours, nobody hopes anymore. But he is, with his mind still racing, thinking of grass in summer parks, remembering being so small her hip was above him, and lying beside her when he was afraid of the dark. What are they doing? They should have finished. Time sweats like the skin on the back of his neck. I wish I'd told her I always loved her. Did I tell her? They've cleared that check. The CCTV in Theatre 7 films a beating heart in her sawn-through chest. The surgeons wait for it to die with the rest of her. They've tried, they've failed. They could have guessed. Her son hears the surgeon's tread approaching. His hopes surge up, then ebb away. He already knows what this man will tell him, but the surgeon tells him anyway. The words are lost in a sea of confusion. Waves crash in his head and the sounds all blur. He feels salt in his eyes and he thinks he's swimming, thinking, none of this should ever have happened to her. None of this should ever have happened to her. I'm thinking, I wish this wasn't happening to you, Mr. Wilson. You lost your mother out of the blue. I hope you're man enough to cry like a child for her. Mr. Wilson, I wept for you. Thank you.
Brilliant. That destroyed me.
It still affects me, actually, that experience. So I did want to just take a moment and dedicate it to that family that I think about even now, and for everybody who's lost somebody, especially when you're not expecting it.
Yeah.
So this next song might seem a bit of a strange one to follow that poem, because it reads primarily as a love song. But you can also just read it as a general appreciation for anyone that makes you happy. So I've been sending it to people who've made me happy, just even in small ways, so that I know that I value them. Because there's people I've lost that I've never told that. So you never know when it's going to be too late. So I have put it on YouTube. So if anybody else feels moved to send it to anyone that you love, then you can. It's called The Colour of Happiness. And I'm not going to actually play it because for the first time I made a video to go with one of my songs. So Gabby is kindly going to play it from a YouTube link.
You're the colour of my happiness. You're the colour of my smile. You're the colour of the special days that make my life worthwhile. Will you come and paint the town with me? Or stay in and deck the halls? Make the day glow together. Break through the beige of these four walls. wanna go deeper into sepia. Monotony of monochrome. I'm sick of all the shades of solitude. Fed up with the color of alone. I'm the color of commitment. Yours is trust, the deepest shade. I wanna paint my whole world over with this bright new mix we've made. Be the color of my happiness. You're the color of my soul. Be the color of my rainbows, and you're the color of knowing I found gold.
Yay!
Is Jackie still there?
Jacky's still there?
Jackie?
Oh, you need to unmute yourself.
I'm still here, yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Thank you, Jackie. That was amazing.
Can we see you? Can we see the video of you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, brilliant. Yay. Thank you for that wonderful video. That's really good. I sent it to Gabby to join the video. I really like it, actually.
Thank you.
I just like that very simplestness of it. And I think it's more, it's really effective.
Yeah.
You know?
Thank you.
It's inspiring how you've made it in such a simple way, but it's really beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Just a comment from Harula Ladd for your poem. She says, very moving poem and beautifully delivered. And Brian Herdman says, he quotes, time sweats, die with the rest of her. Such powerful language, evocative of love and the human condition. Wonderful stuff, Jackie. Thank you. That was from Brian.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
I'd like to say to everybody that's performed tonight, and we've had quite a large audience on Facebook, which is really good to know, and lots of nice comments on Facebook. It's been wonderful to have every single performer here tonight. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
And you know, it's just been magic. Do you mean? Thank you.
One comment from Laura's mum, Babs Horton. Your mum says, thank you for a lovely evening, everybody.
Thanks to Chi, Shane, Gabby and Mark for hosting and tech work. Thanks for organising the whole thing.
We don't have anything without the artists, so I'm going to give all the artists one big clap in one go, so it's all clap.
Thank you for such a special night, everyone. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was very special, very moving evening, and yeah, it's been great. Yeah.
It was good.
Did
everyone
just finishing up.
In Wonder Zoo.
Oh, hi, Claire.
Hey, Claire. Hi, Claire.
Hiya.
See you.
Laura had a good evening.
Yeah. So, Chi, do you want to finish off with some final words before we all head off?
Yeah, I hope everyone has, I hope 2021 is, has something in it that is uplifting and good for every single person here. I know we're going through some really difficult times at the moment, and everyone's struggling emotionally and mentally in some sort of way. Just want to sort of extend my hand of friendship and solidarity to everyone out there, and just want you to all know that Wonder Zoo, the whole Wonder Zoo crew we want to support everyone and give everyone a place to come together. And I hope that as many of you as possible can come to our storytelling group and all our different events that we're going to have in the future, just as a place for people to come together in these really weird times. So you're all more than welcome, and we really want to welcome you all to be part of what we do and to get involved and, you know, find a way to express yourself and grow and keep developing and keep, you know, being passionate about what you do and having a platform to share what you do in these times.
And I'd also like to give a shout out to Tim King. Anyone out there who writes and needs a place to go to, Monday morning's fantastic. Tim, do you want to quickly mention what you do on Monday mornings?
Just have like a little drop in for about an hour and a half, 2 hours on Monday mornings from 11 o'clock. If you go onto Facebook for taking the mic, it's always the link's up there. It's the same Zoom link every week. Anyone can come along. Just spend 5 minutes doing what you like. Most people bring a poem. You don't have to bring a poem. You can just bring yourself.
And it's been a brilliant thing, Tim, because it's really kept me going throughout the last year. So thank you for such a wonderful thing you do.
It's been good for both of us, just as writers.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's always there. It doesn't, you know, nobody has to come, but it's wonderful when people do. And normally there's quite a few people there. So.
And the last thing I'd like to say is before Hando Chino will end off is that don't forget Saturday 2 o'clock we got a drop-in workshop. You can come, read, write. You can just talk if you want to.
Read, write, talk.
Just be around people.
Storytelling group, not workshop.
2 o'clock on Saturday. So it'll be once a month. We'll be doing that as our way of trying to help people get through it as well.
And I won't be there because I hate teaching with a passion. And any form of teaching, I just become angry and abusive. But at 7 p.m. that evening, we have a reading group.
Yeah. So Chi and Gabby are going to be reading what book?
Brave New World.
Yeah, so going to be reading bits from Brave New World. So that's going to be fun. And in about a fortnight or so.
And if that's too soon, in March we're doing Orlando.
Yeah, and in between that, we're going to show the 1980 film of Brave New World as well at some point.
We're going to do Orlando.
Got lots of fun activities and events coming up to keep people entertained during these weird times.
Well, keep me and Slane entertained anyway.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Great.
Lots of love. Have a great evening. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.